record breaking. And I'm not just talking about FCC winning a match at home again, which, yes, somehow also is a record, but also 7 total MLS wins, I believe, this season is a club record, which is kind of sad, but also a valid indication that the past looks to be in the past. And the way FC Cincinnati is holding up against top table teams, you got to be encouraged by that. You're listening to Cincinnati Soccer Podcast. Our weekly main show used to be the place you went for conversational therapy. We are now moving into a fun place to be again. We are reinstalling the trampoline park at CST headquarters and letting ourselves feel free. I'm joined by a great crew tonight, as usual, and I have saved a topic for later in the show that I can guarantee has not been done by us, and I'm excited to get to it. Let's bring in the crew and see how they're doing. First up, Jason Ashcroft. Did I see you nap before FCC matches? You talked about missing like all the pregame activities because you're sleeping.
Yeah. I took a little afternoon nap on Friday. That might have gone a little longer than it should have, and
You outed the guy.
yeah, and
I was just like, a Friday night nap. That sounds like a dream. How does one work that into a schedule?
You're an accountant. You can figure out a way.
Yeah, exactly. You do the math. Yeah, and
Do the
so
math.
I was a little bit of a rush to get downtown, but it worked out all right.
Jason, do the math. That was pretty good.
So if you wake up from a nap and go to a soccer game, is it okay to have a beer? Does it feel like you're having a beer at 9 a.m.?
Oh no, beer anytime. Kegs and eggs, baby. It's fine.
I forgot. I'm talking to a bunch of people that watch European football and probably wake up and brush their teeth and have a beer on Saturdays. That's so weird to me, but I guess it's pretty normal in the average soccer fan's life. All right, well, not to belabor the point, let's jump in here. We'll add Brian. He's back on this week, and that's good news for me. Most of you only listen to the audio post-production side of this podcast. You're not aware of how much more comfortable it is having Brian on here during the live show, but I appreciate you, buddy.
I don't know what to make of that, but glad to be here. Our Lord and Savior Brenner came to play this past week, so things are in the right direction. As you mentioned, setting records. We are 1 point away from the all-time MLS season record for FC Cincinnati points record. So yeah, it's exciting, and we're only 16 games into the campaign, so only can go uphill from here. So.
Wow, we're just happy to be here along for the ride, man. Oh, well, let's bring in Jeff Tabbits. Jeff, I think it's been a week or two since you've been on here, but I've heard you on March to Match Day, and I think you're doing that again this week. So I'm pumped, man. I'm looking forward to hearing that.
Yeah, this will be great because I'll be interviewing some of the guys from the Revolution, so I get to break out the Kennedy accent again. Yeah, park your car right here. Yeah.
What happened to Brad? Did he disappear?
Something about a baby coming or not coming, or
Yeah.
he's on stage 9. Watch out.
Yeah, he was in the middle of doing a gender reveal, I think, something like that. But I mean, it was a great week for soccer, and I came to find out that I checked out someone's Twitter account, and they found a restaurant in Japan that does Cincinnati style chili.
Whoa.
Oh boy, it was like $18 over there, but
was that Wagyu beef in there or something?
I don't know. It was about the same cost as like a sardine pizza or something like that. But I think they asked, was it more Skyline? It's like, nah, I felt like Gold Star. The cheese was kind of fake. But.
It can't. Yeah, I was gonna say it can't really get the cheese, so I'd be confused as to how that works.
I mean, they do have those like fake food displays over there in Japan. So
what's a Japanese oyster cracker taste like? That's what I want to know.
or hot sauce cracker bombs.
Yeah, probably wasabi or something.
You get the full experience is what I want to know.
Did they get them shipped in from Kroger? Because that is what the oyster crackers are.
If Yu Yakuba wants us to pick up his option for next year, he needs to give us a scouting report.
There you go. So you said they're Kroger brand, but I can buy Skyline brand oyster crackers at Kroger. So is that like a Inception type of thing with oyster crackers?
It's just brand a different label.
Kroger actually used to make Skyline oyster crackers, and they moved that a couple of years ago. Fun fact for the day, episode 297. Let's go.
Yeah, almost 300. Should we do something big for 300, guys?
We've been trying to do something big for 6 weeks, so we'll see.
We
what
all dress
happens.
as Spartans for 300.
Jeez, trying to get.
Celebration. All right. Well, we won't give away too much. This is going to be a good show. It's so much better post win to have one of these shows. I'm really looking forward to your guys' thoughts jumping on here. Real quick, we want to remind everyone we are sponsored by an absolute great brand, Swero X. Now at Jungle Gyms, you can go over there, either location, and load up on your hydration needs. So definitely check them out if going to the store seems overbearing to you in this world, this day and age. Then you can buy it, of course, on their website using code CST22, and that will let them know you heard about it here. So we appreciate them for sponsoring us. You can always, as well, contact us at CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com, feedback at CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com for emails. If you have any awesome ideas or things you want us to talk about, hit us up. We would love to hear from you. Best and worst. Let's jump right into it, Brian.
Worst of the week, anthem singer. No. Yes, maybe. No, best of the week I think was Harris Madunanen, baby. He came to play and I think he only got like 65 minutes, but loved what I saw out of him, having the freedom to make long passes, dictate how the team was moving the ball forward. Of course, a lot of that's due to the work rate and coverage of Obi, but it was almost like a retro Harris Madunanen that we saw in Philly when he was there. So it was kind of exciting to see him. And I look forward to more of that. I know Junior Moreno is going to be out here for appears a couple more games, if not a little bit longer. Obi's on four yellows, so we'll see how that goes. But overall, happy to see Harris be more than a bit player this year. Worst, I kind of said it a little bit, but yeah, just it's tough to be down right now. I guess I wish the worst would maybe, and I didn't read yours, so I apologize if I'm stealing something, but the fact that Nick Hagelin didn't get a goal this week made me really disappointed because he had a couple great chances, and Galese stood on his head, and I think still, even though in a 1-0 loss, had a wonderful performance. So
why is it that when we're on all rolling, other goalkeepers just happen to have that performance of their life? Man, that was a great game.
Well, that just means that we're putting the ball on frame. I think we had like 9 shots on frame, and that's wonderful for FC Cincinnati without Lucho for most of that time.
That's rare for FC Cincinnati.
That is. Jeff Tebbets, you always go worst first, so let's start there.
Let's go worst. Just because I want to get this out of the way real quick. The turtles were soggy, from what I was told. That they weren't the best turtles that they had.
Are you talking about the Gomez stand?
Talking about the Gomez stand. You're allowed to have a bad game every now and then, and from what my fiance told me, they weren't on their best, their highest performance.
In their defense, when did she get them? Because I got one pretty early before the match, and it was on point.
My guess is probably was later in the game.
The nachos are pretty good, right?
They need their own booth. Get rid of the stand because I think they needed to go full service. In my opinion, it's the best thing in the stadium.
Yeah, I heard the nachos were good because Noonan had some afterwards at the press conference, and he didn't seem he said they were okay.
No, the nachos are good.
But my real worst is that the team really didn't look hungry until Acosta came in. I'm a little concerned that if Acosta was to get a knock or he needed a complete game off, that we're really going to be threadbare. I mean, this week we didn't have Dom Badji, we didn't have Moreno, and so you can sort of see the bigger pieces are not being filled in by equal talent. And so
let's engage on that real quick, Jeff.
Yeah.
I think Brenner and Alvaro maybe aren't just as aggressive. Would you say like they don't force the issue than like Lucho does? Like, I mean, hell, Lucho like almost chipped the keeper from 30 out. I mean, do you think it's chalk it up to that or just lack of being able to break down in the final third?
I think part of it is that Barreal and Brenner just don't have the same wavelength as far as Acosta and Brenner, or Acosta and Barreal for that matter. I think Barreal plays much better when he's next to Acosta. But that's sort of a nitpick thing that was very little to be mad about for this game. I thought the best was the overall defensive play. You looked at the numbers, the XGA, the expected goals against 0.30. That's the lowest that they've allowed all season.
With Harris Medunian on the field.
with
Exactly.
Harris Medunian on the field. Really, the only shot that Orlando had was that header from Antonio Carlos that went wide in the 82nd minute. That sort of came out of nowhere. I don't think many people expected it, but that was really the only real threat. I thought Gaddis had a pretty good game. I thought Nelson had a decent game, but that slide tackle to break up sort of a break on the left, they had flashes of brilliance that they really needed, and the guys in the middle played a solid game.
I think on my worst I had originally was towards Gaddis, and I don't think he played bad, Jeff. Let's talk about it. Like, I just don't think he offers enough up that right side offensively. Like, anything generated on that right side was a long ball from Harris to Brandon Vasquez, and very, very little from Ray Gaddis.
At the same time, though, if you need someone who's a little more defensive, Ray will get you that. I mean,
Sure.
he had some pretty good moves along the line. He played what he was asked to do. Same thing with Nelson. And I think because they were playing decent ball and they weren't letting balls get behind them, it allowed the back three to play focused ball. They played really high as well.
Mhm.
I mean, this was a good defensive effort, the best of the season, according to Noonan.
I thought
Yeah,
Ray did a good job in this one of getting back and forth, but what cracked me up in this match, and I can't remember who served it, but maybe it was Barrial or Acosta, but somebody served Ray a ball forward, and it like blew his mind. He was like, "What? I'm getting involved in the attack." He did. Of course, he was just a step behind because of that, but it cracked me up. I was like, "Look, they're trying to get it," but he was in a great position to get.
Yeah, in general, I mean, I spoke with Gaddis after the game, and he is probably he had glowing words for everybody. He really likes what Brenner and Acosta gave to that game, so he's fitting in as, I think, definitely a vocal leader on this team.
To your point, I mean, we're going to need more out of him too, because Powell's in protocol. You don't know if that's going to be a week, 2-3 weeks. We have no left back as well, so it's still scaring the crap out of me, our lack of depth. And Blackett, who's our quote unquote backup left back, this might be his last match.
To be honest, late at this game, they actually had,
right.
if you really look at it, if you look at the left, they had taken Nelson out to bring in Acosta.
Mm-hmm.
Ian Murphy was on the left in the end of that game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I was sort of like, oh, I don't want to see that. That's where Pato was sort of attacking right there to Celentano's left. He really got under Murphy's skin there again.
Dude,
So
Pato's washed. He couldn't put a ball on target for his life. He could get into good spots, but my God, I was watching this guy.
I think if he had
the schedule, make sure we don't play Orlando again. So
No, we're
No,
done.
we're done.
we're done. We swept it.
2-0 against them.
Waiting for the
Wikipedia,
Jets
we're
to
their
seize the
owners.
series.
I
Per
think
Wikipedia,
if
we're the owners.
I think if Patos started that game and was playing opposite of Barrial instead of Acosta, he might have gotten an assist or two.
All right, let's get into some of these lead-in years, Jason. So I'm going to bring up Kevin Michael first. He said, best, Brenner getting his first of the year. Worst, couldn't take advantage of great opportunities. Yeah, you're right. There's chances for many more goals in that match. Clifford Adams, Lucho coming in, threading golden yarns. I like how you worded that. Worst, Skyline crew not moving. I knew it. I called it. I said, because the stadium was so full this week, is the biggest crowd of the season. TQL is just a tad not ready for those 26,000 games. So I knew there'd be some lines there. All right, let's get into you, Jason. Best and worst.
Yeah, best. And this kind of goes along with what Jeff said. Lucho coming in gave us a big spark in the second half. And I think the big difference is that he is much more aggressive than Barrial. As soon as he came in, he right out of the gate took a shot that had no chance of going in, was an easy save. But that's kind of the thing that you want to see out of that position. I think it was his shot that led to Brenner poaching his goal in the match as well. So that's something you love to see out of that position. Barrial, I think, is maybe a little timid, a little uncomfortable when he's in that role. Not to say he played poorly. Obviously, I think we played the best that we've played all year, minus, having some of our best players on the pitch. My worst is, his name escapes me right now, the Orlando City goalkeeper. because he had such a great game.
Oh, I was like, how is that the worst?
That's the worst. We should have won 4-0. And
So,
he
If this was an
didn't do it.
Orlando podcast, the
Jason-
worst would be that he saved that goal and then it was the second effort.
Jason's drinking whatever liquid's coming out of his fish tank behind him.
It's poison dart frogs, so yeah, it's probably even
Oh,
worse.
yeah, probably worse.
No,
yeah.
I mean, and also shout out to Coach for hooking me up with the ticket. But I sat up there with him, and Hagelin, like you all mentioned, should have had at least 2. The goalkeeper standing on his head, good for him, good for Orlando fans. For me, that would have just been so great to see an absolute blowout in TQL Stadium in front of that crowd. That would have really, easily from Kevin 4-0. That would have really put a fire in this city, because I think with the Reds being the way they are and the way FC Cincinnati's played for the past couple of years, I've had coworkers mentioning to me, hey, they're pretty good this year, right? And I kind of say, yeah, they're all right. If they had just been able to tear the roof off the joint, that would have really done wonders for the team.
I've done that cautious. Yeah. But if you go and they have a bad game, don't come back to me, please. Like you're not half committal there.
Yeah.
Hey, you said you sat with our coach?
Yeah, Coach Goff.
Yeah. So was he super technical during the game? Like, were you like, shut up and just let me watch the soccer, or how was he?
So here's the thing. I can't hear worth crap when I'm in a crowd. But you see Coach on the podcasts and on video, very subdued kind of guy, right? You think this guy's not going to get into it. Dude gets lit up during games. He is hype, standing up, yelling. I asked him about a sub. It was when they moved Barrial to wingback. And I said, Coach, they're moving Barrial there, right? He's like, yeah, he's going to get his feet on the chalk and we're going to tear it up. I'm like, all right, yeah.
Was he drinking a beverage with a lime in it?
I don't know. I was very upset I did not have any limes on me for the match.
You had some good GIFs though, or Jeff and you guys.
It's all about the limes, baby.
That's great. Well, Alex on Facebook said the best is getting love from ESPN as the 4th most entertaining team in the league. I totally agree with that. The FCC has been a blast to watch this year. Win or lose, draw. Those games have been fun. Worst, they ranked Nashville last the week before they were showing one of their games.
I think they were like comparing it to teams from Europe, and they compared us to Valencia. And I'm like, hey, what do you know?
We know them.
I can't remember who they compared Columbus to. I think it was like Burnley or something like that. Like, didn't they get demoted?
Boys, the way we're playing and the way Columbus is playing, I'm really looking forward to those matches this year.
Yeah, we'll see if Zelarayan gets healthy.
We'll see how their new addition does.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I'm not going to talk too much smack about them just yet.
I'm not talking smack. I'm just saying, as fun as we are, they're at least going to be good games in my opinion.
To your point, though, it's like people are saying, like, and I know we'll talk about this later, that TQL is starting to get that little vibe action going. Wait till we have those hugely meaningful matches, like that first match versus Columbus. Even though we were terrible and we were up 2 goals and we drew, like that first half, the Bailey was freaking nuts.
Like, what about this Wednesday when New York City comes in?
Yeah.
For a second place New York City. That's going to be a barn burner of a game.
So
Yeah.
my only fear of that one is it's Wednesday, so we won't be as prepared. You can see the supporter groups are already amping it up.
Yeah.
They're trying to get the fans on board, but I'm hoping turnout. But will it be Friday night turnout? I don't know.
Hey, it's Wednesday night going into the 4th of July. Tie one on, man. Just have fun. Call off work Thursday and Friday. You'll be all right.
We can just hope the atmosphere.
Oh,
That's an old one. I like that. That's a year 1 and 2 fan. Will only understand that. Our show is by and large supported by fans. We appreciate everyone that hits us up and contributes in some way or another. Some of you support us by reading all of our articles and listening to the podcasts and interacting with us on social media. We appreciate all of that. Some of you donate through Patreon, and we appreciate that as well. We do want to give a shout out to those of you that do so. and you keep CST free and available for everyone. Bree Lee, John Davidson, Mike Hudson, Robert Stevens, Laurel Failer, Matthew Adamczyk, Riley Stephen Burke, James Denbrough, Tom Newhouse, Brian and Brad Weigel, Brian Gills, Dan Alberts, Will Kychek, Ian Rexroad, Augustus Caceres, Bill Antonitis, Carl Feit, Jeremy Schrand, Kyle Pohl, Christina Sharma, Rupesh, Tom Beversdorf, Jason, who is super average, John Haskell, Ryan Ernst, Mary Lou, Wes Anastasi, Rob Pierce, Clifford Adams, Thomas Thepps, Pierce Johnson, Mike Prentice, Mr. and Mrs. Wiederhold, Rob Gaselli, Brad, oh, I already said you, Kevin Day, Jamie Smed, Alex Carnegas, Mike Bowman, Patrick Lahani, Dave Tingler, Brett Sova, Chris Hubbard, Kevin Cooney, Joe Max, Jack Emery, Sarah Gorman, David Moore, Bob Ryan, Ryan Durkin, Bart Labita, Mark Neuenschwerner, Robert Triple, Joe Lowe, and Bill Leopold. Thank you for supporting Cincinnati Soccer Talk. Boy, if we get any more of those, I don't know. I'm gonna have to start putting a list up on the screen. That's becoming quite the list there, and we appreciate it. We actually just added mileage reimbursement for our photographers, thanks to the last 3 donations. So we want to let you guys know how those donations are. We've got photographers that are driving in, and gas is expensive, so we don't want them taking too much out of their own pockets there. So we appreciate that. They appreciate that more than I do, let me tell you. Let's jump into our next segment, guys. TQL. It's been a better place to be this year. But I wanted to get you guys, let's do a vibe check. How are you feeling after this past Friday? Were all of you there?
Mm-hmm.
You're in the box, so yours might be a little bit. You can give us what was Pat Brennan's vibe like? We'll go to you, Brian, then first.
Well, unfortunately, I wasn't there, but you could hear the difference on Star 64 or whatever when you're listening to the matches. A lot more raucous crowd. You can tell. I mean, just seeing the Bailey in the last 10 minutes of the match on TV is something that we haven't seen for years, and just the intensity throughout the whole match. And when there's a hard tackle with 15 minutes to go, the whole stands, all the fans in stands stand up and BS, and it's just cool to see again. And I guess the last thing it's been kind of like that was some of the U.S. men's national team games. And I think it's only going to get better. The groundwork's been laid with the incline and the Pride and Dienenstadt and everybody else. There's going to be more and more attraction to go there and have those vibe experiences. Like they're the most important matches. We always say in the history of our team were those U.S. Open Cup matches. And the more games we get like that, you don't need knockouts, but a big Nashville game, a big Columbus game, a huge game versus New York City this week will only breed more interest in the club, versus the Apple Plus stuff. But hey, it's going to be exciting if we keep this up and if we can get a couple new exciting players.
Oh, all right, Jason, you're with Coach. He was obviously pumped.
Yeah.
What about you? What about everybody else?
I was pumped. I kind of had a feeling that. Sorry, allergies. I had a feeling before the match. I don't know if you guys kind of that were there. I just kind of had a good vibe feeling. Like the fans kind of seemed really into it. The crowd was starting to fill up a little later, but you knew it was going to be a big crowd. I know in the notes you said, "Is this like Nippert?" I only went to one match at Nippert, and unfortunately, it was a loss. But the vibe was there. I felt like the folks in the Bailey really brought it. I felt like all the fans were engaged, and one of the things I noticed was more and more fans kind of figuring out some of the chants, some of the more simple chants, clapping along with it. I've watched a lot of MLS games in my day, and that's different. When you get the families and the casuals and the regular season ticket holders really getting into it like that's a really special thing. So if I had one request to make to the supporters groups, make up another chant that everybody can really get into. That's real simple, because
one of them good stadium-wide ones.
Yeah, I personally, I've always loved it that they chant "We don't mess around" after goals. I think that's one of the coolest Cincinnati unique things we do. That needs to be like a whole crowd thing. Chant that as a crowd, because You know the boomers up in the luxury boxes will get the joke.
And if you have any more awesome ideas like that, join the board of DNH. The Pride or any of the other supporters groups
Exactly.
and get involved.
Yeah. I there was a couple pivotal moments I noticed. One made me really happy. One was it told me the stadium as a general population is totally aware of what's going on. When Acosta subbed in this game, you heard the crowd just lose their minds. They
He's a
knew
star.
Yeah.
they knew what that sub meant. They knew a goal was more likely to come. They just understanding that impact was cool. Everybody knows who Costa is. Everybody knows he's going to make an impact. And I put a smile on my face when I saw the crowd lose their mind for him. Before the match, the stadium wide stuff got a lot better, I thought, than in previous ones, which is good because we hadn't done anything yet except tied Philly the week before. So that's just, I felt like general optimism increasing around the city. And then after the goal, that Bailey was doing the bouncing thing. That was awesome. Super cool to see again. It's been a while since I've seen the Bailey that rowdy, so it's pretty fun. All right, Mr. Tebbets, what's your opinions?
I can give really only the perspective that I have from the press box, and the one that I saw that sort of leaked out the most is at the beginning of right before the game, after the anthem, they'll have the lineups announced. And in the past, it had always been like, in goal, number, I forget what Celentano's number 18. Or they'll say number 18, Roman, and the crowd would go,
Celentano.
And they really were still learning names here. But now you're getting like number 4, Nick, and the crowd goes, Hagelin. And there was a big time roar from when he was announced and from when Vasquez was announced. I think you're getting big time responses. And this comes with having players that are playing well. Nick has been playing really well. Vasquez has been playing out of his shell. And so if Acosta was in the lineup, he would have had a mammoth announcement, I'm sure. The other thing I noticed is that coming out after the game, I'm seeing the pitch is a little bit livelier. You go down the street, Queen City Radio's a little bit livelier. Rhinehouse a little bit livelier. It's getting some more potential, after game metrics. Those are being more measurable. And maybe it might have been because it was a Friday night, but you still get that on a Saturday night as well. And so those are just some of the things I even saw outside of the stadium.
It's a really pivotal point of the season for the fans to start amping it up. And I think we made a comment last show about how the TQL needs to be more of a fortress for FC Cincinnati going forward because of this whole playoff position thing we find ourselves in. And I can honestly say the fans answered the call in the last game, but just keep it coming. Let's do more. Real quick, is it, in your opinion, is this something that we're just going to need down the stretch, especially as we start playing these seriously pivotal games? How much of an impact, I guess, is the real question, will the fans amplifying TQL make?
I mean,
Brian. Oh, go
ahead,
Jason.
Brian.
Go.
Okay, I think they're professionals and they're gonna play their best, but there is something about you hear athletes talk about playing in front of a hot crowd, and having a crowd behind you gives you that extra step. It gives you that extra momentum, and that was something FC Cincinnati was known for back in the USL days, was how big the crowds were, how big of a fortress Nippert was. And if you can turn TQL into that, I think that's really going to help.
So 2 things. Back in the USL days, you felt like you had to show up and be loud because we were trying to get into MLS, but also because you felt like you were cheering, the guys got into it and you felt like you were helping them, I guess you could say. I don't want to get too carried away with that, but now it's, of course, I haven't gone to as many games. Brad's having a kid. We're trying to, you got all the ticket shares and all that, but you feel like you need to show up and be a part of it now because you are factoring in again. It's like a national team game. Like you got to be loud because they're going to feed off that. And it's kind of, to Jason's point, now we're talented enough to play with anybody. We lost by 1 to LAFC. We're beating Orlando, beating a lot of good teams, playing well. And I think naturally that's going to happen. And you don't know who we're going to add over the next month, but God, we're fun to watch, man. We're a blast. And it to me, it's kind of, I pose this whole, is it Nippert kind of again? It's starting to get those vibes, or it's starting to get the old FCC vibes.
We're definitely going to get a good test to see if this ever becomes another Nippert. Looking at the next 7 matches at TQL Stadium: NYCFC, New York Red Bulls, Vancouver, maybe, Nashville, Philadelphia, Atlanta, and then Columbus. These 7 games at home, we're going to need not only good performances from the players, we're going to need every butt in that seat cheering as loud as they can and making it feel like the fortress we had in 2018. That nobody could score on us when we're in 2018, except for maybe Red Bulls too. But nobody could beat us. Make us that fortress again.
Everybody's like, well, where you been the past couple of years? We feed off the players just as much as they feed off us.
Yeah. Hope is returning. You definitely felt that. One thing I really like towards the end of the game, I sit on Ray Gaddis' sideline when he's on that side of the field. So the second half, he was on my side of the field, and he just, waiting for that whistle to blow, starts amping up the crowd, waving his hands like feed me to the crowd. And our sideline went nuts for it. Like, just absolutely let him hear it. So awesome that the players are getting back into it as well. Like, hey, we're going to win this game. Let's go ahead and cheer this game out to close.
And I think style of play has a lot to do with it too. I mean, like we all mentioned, this is a fun team to watch. Previous incarnations of FC Cincinnati and MLS have just at times, sorry, my dog is having a fun time downstairs, at times has been a chore to watch. This team, they're actually fun. And even in a losing effort, you don't feel like you're really that out of it.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about something of substance here. Put the happy times aside for a moment. FC Cincinnati, big rumor this week from the Post, links FCC to Chelsea center back Matt Miazga.
Miazga.
Miazga. Thank you.
Good Lord, man.
You knew it. You knew I was going to butcher it, and I did. So let's talk about this. Do we need to spend to make this season a little bit better, to maybe make sure we get in the playoffs or do what we can, or are we fine? Is adding a big element like LAFC is doing currently mess things up?
Somebody else kick this off for me.
Let's not pay attention to what LAFC does. They are in the West for a reason. They are Hollywood. I mean, the Galaxy are probably going to do something just as glamorous. Don't pay attention to the West. We've already faced them in their environments. Pay more attention to teams like Columbus, who have gotten massively better in terms of their offense. Pay more attention to teams like a New York Red Bull, like a New York City FC, like well, we're not going to play them anymore, but like a Revolution, who are going to throw money around, and that they're going to start winning, and you're going to have to win to keep up with them. I don't think we need to have a glamorous signing, but we need some good bodies in there. And I'm not talking about grabbing a Caleb Stanko or a Kenny Saif. We can't be grabbing these C level players. We need to have at least B players. We don't need to break banks, but we need to have people that have had MLS experience or better.
We're literally on the back line, one fullback injury away from having literally one healthy fullback. In the midfield, Yuya Kubo might be able to step in. Alan Cruz could probably fill. I just think why I like Miazga, if he's a DP, it just scares me a little bit because, okay, he's a DP. That means you need to ship Brenner out. That means you need to find a production piece in that front line that is still, he's still going to be a high paid player. So regardless who you come in, you still need to put a lot of money there. So I don't know if we have that in the wings, but if we can get somebody that's not a DP and give us some more flexibility, I'd love it. But Miazga is tough to pass up. Really tough.
I mean, look at who we got last year. I know it's apples and oranges, but Florian Valot.
Oh yeah,
I mean, I've
we need a
forgotten
left back.
Forgot about that.
We need a left back.
I think you can get Miazga as a high TAM player.
I would
If you give him a
expect that. I would
5-year
Yeah.
contract.
I mean,
spread out that.
I think you can do it if he's available and you can get him without taking up a DP spot, because I don't think they're going to be able to move Brenner. Then you absolutely do it, and the name recognition alone as well is big. But right now, the back line is I think our biggest risk. We need to, like you said, we need to patch up that back line. If Tyler is it Blackett, his contract is up
Mhm.
in July, I believe.
So that would be an extra senior
Yeah.
spot. So right now we have 2 senior spots. Black, it would be a third. Okay.
And Blackett's making like 800,000 a year or some
Mhm.
insane amount. So that opens up a lot of money for a Miazga. And you can probably pay down. We have a ton of GAM and TAM and WHAM and whatever. We can probably pay that down. I think that
Depending on his fee.
yeah, we've been holding on to that number 1 allocation spot for a reason. I think we have to be making this move, or else selling it off for someone else to make that sort of move.
Well, I think the post guys were saying it really well. It's like, do you keep Blackett for a year just to keep this going and hope that we can continue, or do you make those changes? I think you have to go for it. There's so much positivity. I think you got to keep building.
I think I'll have to admit, looking at his full amount of play, Blackett has been barely better than what Biasia gave us, and
Yeah.
we traded him.
Sure.
So
For $1 million.
yeah, wow. So as Blackett is a good player, I just think we can do a
Better.
little bit better, and
I
think
agree.
I think Miazga can do it. I mean, bring him in, do the replay of him against Mexico. Was it Mexico or what he was doing? You must be this tall to ride
Yeah,
the
it
Miazga
was
train.
Mexico.
He needs to get back on the national team radar, and he'll start every match and have the chance to do so in Cincinnati. So there's definitely a possibility.
These moves scare me only because I sometimes worry if you go for a name, a former U.S. men's national team guy, and I mean, like if you can get another Obi, who to me is like
Yeah.
beyond paying dividends and what we were hoping for, then sure. But I just don't see the guarantee with this guy.
Well,
thing-
sorry. Part of this you need to factor in as well is, okay, we have 2 senior spots. Let's say Blackett's gone. That's 3 senior spots. So, I mean, we would still have, if Blackett leaves, 3 international players. So it doesn't have to be a Miazga or an American player.
Yeah, so you have really that opens it up. But
But
Jeff?
I think if you bring in Miazga and you still have, and let Blackett go, you still have the 3 international players left, then you can go out and get someone like an Obi who is maybe flying under the radar and maybe wouldn't cost a DP salary.
And you still never know. Like, Yakuba might find his way out.
Yeah.
Yeah. The hard thing I have about that though is that we've depended on people that have flown under the radar. We've depended on some players that weren't glamorous, that
That's a
were
good point.
performing well, but when they came here, they just absolutely messed up the bed. They just could not get out of their own way. So as much as I would like to see that happen, I think we need to get someone a little bit more high profile to show that we mean business.
so you're thinking you're thinking I might be mistaken. He totally would be an instant contributor.
Miazga, yeah.
100%. Yeah.
He's 26. He's been lurking around the Chelsea system, so he's been understanding the systems. Even though he's been loaned quite a bit, he's probably been loaned so much that he wants to show that he can perform as an everyday starter in a big time league like the MLS. And I'll say big time. MLS is big time.
If we can just get him under a DP salary,
I agree that needs to be important.
please.
There is room next year to maneuver around with another DP, but it involves Obi, and I think it's just too soon this season to pull it off. And then I'm not sure of the situation with Kubo, but is Kubo even a DP anymore? I don't think he is.
No.
No.
Yeah.
I'll say it this way: if we're going to trust anybody to maneuver the system, it's going to be Albright. I'm glad we don't have Nightcamp anymore because he wouldn't know what to do with the system at all.
Yeah, the Nightcamp plugging big signings just is what has me on the edge. Like we paid for Brenner, it hasn't paid dividends. Just going and signing the big fancy name is no longer impresses me. I care more about, will it work from day one? Will it work with our system? Will somebody come in and accept Acosta's leadership or Vasquez's leadership and did work in that system? So that's more where my head is at currently.
Can you imagine that we're actually talking about bringing in players to like secure playoffs, not maybe get us into the playoff picture?
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
Yeah, I mean we're seventh on the table, but like sixth in points per game and all that fun stuff. I mean, we've had a very, very good first half of the year, and I just want to keep it up. Sell more tickets, get more people in the seats, and I mean, shoot, he's got a good track record so far. Everything's going to be all bright, so we'll see.
One of you has a point here that says we need to move Brenner. I disagree with this point, but I'll argue with whoever put it on here.
I think people are just wanting him to score. I mean, we all are. But I don't see how you move Brenner. That's the thing. Unless you loan him out to somebody.
Yeah.
I think Baji being out for the next few weeks tells me you really can't deal Brenner right now.
So, and like, there's a gentleman that covers Inter, and they're saying like Brenner is in the same conversation as like the Inter's trying to bring in all these players: Diego Costa, Pato, Brenner, Alexis Sanchez now, and they're saying that they don't have the money to do it, and I just don't see Cincinnati just throwing them away, unless there's some magical DP out there, but I don't see it happening.
Do you think we can? I know one. Jeff said not to worry about LAFC, and I'm not worried about him, Jeff. But they did use an interesting tactic that I have not seen used yet in Major League Soccer in my time of really paying attention to the league. They signed a player with a back-heavy contract with the player's option, which. Is he actually going to exercise the option? I don't know. If he does, they have to move a DP next year. It's an interesting scenario. Essentially, getting a DP player without being a DP by making it the player's option and making the contract back heavy is pretty cool. Is there any way we can pull something off like that, knowing we could theoretically make a DP?
If he's a free agent.
Depends on the golf courses in the tri-state area.
I was about to say, is Miazga good?
No, it doesn't have to be Miazga. It could just it could be we have the first spot in the allocation list. We could spend it on anyone really, but just maybe it goes back more to the would a star come to Cincinnati type of thing, but I don't know, just food for thought.
Believe in Gaston, baby.
You're not going to get a Gareth Bale to come to Cincinnati, nor do I want Cincinnati to be the team that picks up the Gareth Bales. I want Cincinnati to be the team that is sort of like the new NYCFC, where you're not, I mean, these are really good players. They're championship quality players, but let's be honest. Who had heard about Castellanos until he came to NYCFC? Really?
Yeah, but to be honest, before that you had Perlo.
That's why I said the new NYCFC, the modern incarnation.
Okay.
5-year-old NYCFC, not 2-year-old NYCFC.
They had their own
teams sell players like Bale on a small contract.
I know, but I'd like to see Bale. I think it'd be awesome.
I mean, I'd like to see him play. I don't
play soccer. We want to see him play soccer.
Yeah, but I don't. And from some of the stuff I've looked at, he may not even stick around at LAFC for very long. Like if something opens up back in Europe, he's probably.
Well, yeah, that's the whole point of his contract. It's his option. Yeah. He can do whatever he wants.
Yeah, I don't see him sticking around.
Yeah. No team would make a contract. Like if it's one of your top 3 DP guys, no team would give, like Cincinnati would not give Brenner a contract where Brenner controls his fate. LAFC just did that to get a 4th DP. Like that's the only way that happens. But just an idea for those of you working roster mechanics in your head. Before LAFC pulled that off, I did not know that was a realistic option. So just put that in your card file that maybe Albright can reach into 2 years from now, and we can say, hey, we've seen that before. We know how this works.
And it may not have been a realistic option until LAFC called up Don Garber and was like, hey, listen to what we want to do.
It might still not be an option if it's an Inter Miami thing.
It's totally within the rules, but you have to make sure if you're a club that player doesn't have an option to trigger his option until you have a DP you can move off the books. Because theoretically, if LAFC screwed up, then he said, okay, I'm signing this contract. I'm sticking around in year 2. And they already had 3 DP contracts they couldn't get out of. They would have 4 DPs and they would be in a Miami situation.
Yeah. Whenever we get Lahoud back and do CST after dark, we'll talk to you guys about when FCC got into some dark money, interesting tactics. So we'll talk about that one day.
Oh man,
Woo.
Food for thought. What fixed FC Cincinnati, guys? This is a segment I mentioned at the top of the show. I wanted to jump into this. We spent years trying to figure out what was wrong with FC Cincinnati, and I think we are finally at a point where we are playing good enough against good clubs that we can actually take a look at what fixed FCC. Only one of you can say coaching.
Well, I don't agree with the premise that we're completely fixed yet, because I still think we've got a lot of work to do, that we're still headed in the right direction.
We're at the point I can have this conversation.
We're outperforming expectations.
We're improving.
No, 100% Pat Noonan, skinny jeans. Let's 100%. Yopstom could have pulled that off. Pat Noonan. No, I think getting the guys in the right positions and recognizing what it takes to win and to break down teams, honestly. Like, he knows these teams, he knows their tendencies, and you see it, like how to beat, or not beat Philadelphia, but play Philadelphia tough. So I think having that, him and the assistant coaches that have the track record in the league has been so valuable to this club.
I mean, I think also part of it is that you've finally gotten talent that fits the coaching. We've had that first year, we had too many USL promotions to the first team, not enough contracts of people that were from MLS that fit the style that they wanted to play. Past 2 years has sort of been in limbo because, you've brought over good coaches, but you've brought over talent that didn't quite play to the level that they were supposed to be at. We're depending quite a bit on overseas talent. Remember all those years where we're like, do we have enough international roster spots? We have to buy another one. I think we just went too far with that. Didn't have a very cohesive team. And now we're finally got a team that's got MLS quality talent that have played in the MLS and are playing under an MLS coach.
I want to challenge that statement a little bit. I don't think all of our players fit our system yet. A lot of them, I think their Obi's fits there and Vasquez does well. I still don't think Barreal is a great fit. I would just say our holes are smaller. Would you agree with that? Like, we had huge holes with midfield and no 10 that first year, no really great 9. Now it's just, okay, you need a little bit of left back, a little bit of right back, maybe one more center back here or there.
Well, the coaching staff is getting more out of players that maybe aren't as comfortable playing in the positions they're being asked to play in, I think.
Ian Murphy, left back, what?
Yeah. Let's not do that very often. But back to your point, I think you're right. The holes are smaller, and the talent on paper may not be as good as some of the players we were supposed to have brought in the past. But I think they're buying into the coach. He's plugging into the holes that need to be plugged into, and he's telling them exactly what they need to do. People aren't out there trying to do more than what needs to be done. But I think back to the bigger point, having people in positions of decision making that understand what the heck they're doing and how MLS works is the biggest thing that we could have done to improve. Having Chris Albright in his position, understanding scouting mechanisms, having been in the league and seeing what kind of player is going to be successful in the league is huge in comparison to Nijkamp, who, let's face it, had no experience with MLS and, in my opinion, looked down on MLS and American players and didn't think to actually take the time to learn what this league was all about. So I think it starts with Albright, and Noonan is a big part of it too.
Let's also say one last thing. Maybe we hit a ground rule double with the draft.
Yeah,
We finally got 3 players that are playing some quality minutes on this team, where last year really all we had was Calvin Harris.
Yeah. And unfortunately his form hasn't been hopefully what we wanted. I know the coaching is a big part. That's why I kind of just wanted to breeze by it, because we've already talked about what a big impact that is. The GM, you guys touched on that. Key points: understanding the league, not going out and picking up a has-been player like Adi. Stuff. We made some huge errors that kind of compiled on themselves. Those 2 factors are huge. I think every fan that has ever watched FC Cincinnati understands how big those 2 have done. There is one third area that I kind of credit that doesn't get a lot of love, and I think that's consistency of players playing together in their system. We've had Hagelin on this team for years. We've had Acosta, we had Brenner, we've had Vasquez. We brought in players like Obi, but that's not the bulk of this team. The bulk of this team is players that have already been here, that were here before Pat Noonan. And yeah, he can coach them up some, but those guys relatively have improved like majorly. And it's not just because they're rolling out with 3 center backs now compared to whatever before. Like, in my opinion, players have learned what the other guy wants. Acosta has learned how to service some of these players a little bit better. He knows how Brenner wants the ball. He knows how Vasquez wants the ball. We figured out which guys are reaction guys, which, like, left back, right backs are better at bringing it down the sideline. Just the overall flow seems to be better. And I worried we would not be consistent this year because of the coaching change, but I think the coaching change has amplified some of these familiarities that the players have already had with each other. Do you guys give that any leeway?
Yes.
I mean, you're saying coaching staff. I mean, you've got it's not just Noonan. You've got Tom Kinnear in there. You've got Arena there. You've got talented coaching staff, and it's not just we've got Jaap Stam and Johan Dame and others. And we really didn't know the staff, and I don't think the staff was as hands-on as they were this year.
Well, there's that story, I think it was Dom Kinnear talked about Brandon Vasquez staying after practices to go over film. And that's, I mean, who knows if they were doing that under previous regimes? I don't know. But you're right. Having an assistant like that who has been around the league and can talk to a young guy like Brandon Vasquez and be like, hey, do you want to be successful in this league? Here's some of the things you need to do. I think is big. In getting the most out of talent has been something the entire staff has been able to do this year.
Yeah, let's see what Albright can give those guys to give them a little bit more help to finish this out, because I still think we're overperforming massively. I think I said this last week, is when's the bubble going to pop? Hopefully it doesn't, but the team has looked real well, and I think to every single person's point, it's the coach.
Bubble popping implies that we're way up performing better. But I mean, that draw against Philly to me told me that I'm not sure this bubble you think exists. Like, I think injury will be the only reason we slow down, because we don't have.
Moreno's out for how many weeks? And then let's say Obi doesn't. I don't think we compete in that match if Obi's out. We lose one of our outside backs. Toast. Lose maybe one more. I just think we're our margins are so thin. So that might be a better way of putting it.
Okay, I understand that a little bit more. I thought you were just saying, even with the talent we have on the field, we're
and that's crazy, because we're bringing $2 million players off the bench in Yu Yakuba and Alan Cruz right now. So
I mean, the Eastern Conference is such a mess. I mean, 6 points separate us from first place right now, if I'm right. And if in order for us to remain kind of in that hunt, we're going to have to make some moves, but I would much rather be in this position with Pat Noonan at the helm and Chris Albright at the helm than previous regimes.
Yeah.
Because if we were in this position this time last year, I would have been waiting for the bubble to pop. Right now, I'm like, yeah, we're hopefully cautiously optimistic.
Yeah, Kevin brings up a good point. Obi's on 4 yellow cards. He was in the Orlando game, but he did not get one, thankfully. But as soon as he gets that 5th, he's suspended. So Brian's going to get his non-Obi game real soon, and we're going to see if they can play through it.
Dude loves a card just like an ATM.
Yeah, but his style of playing is just so good for MLS. Earlier, he pointed out functional goalkeeping is a big piece of FC Cincinnati's success this year. None of us mentioned it. Unfortunately, he's correct. Who knew just Jack Stern quitting would be the key to success for FC Cincinnati? No, I'm just kidding. But we have 2 solid goalkeepers this year, and that's something I can't remember FCC having in Major League Soccer. So good point.
2, much less 1.
Yeah.
You could say we have 3 because Vermeer is playing the bench really well.
Yeah, he got a shot in Open Cup. Didn't work out very well for him. So, all right. Anything else you guys want to touch on here? We got some schedule congestion coming on. Like you mentioned earlier, we have to get around the Baji and Junior Mourinho injury. Hopefully those guys can get back, but they will not be on Wednesday. So they're going to have to figure out a way to play on Wednesday without them.
Yeah, I'm completely cool with Obi. Well, I'd love Obi to, not get his 5th yellow until Moreno's healthy. But if he wants to get a yellow this week and have to sit out a road match on short congested schedule, I'm all right with that right now.
I wouldn't mind if he got a yellow this week and sat out against the Revs,
especially on that field.
Yeah, I don't want him to be on that field. And it's also a crapshoot with the Revs. They've lost a lot of important talent, and they're trying to replace it with quality talent. So right now, I don't want to challenge them too much. I think I would be fine if that was a loss.
Nothing is more fun than watching Obi come 20 yards right at a hard tackle, and you just know it's coming, and you don't just like a car accident. You don't know if it's going to be terrible or like lucky, and they miss it. It's incredible every time, 5 to 8 times a game.
That's why he's my favorite player on the team right now.
He's transformed the midfield for sure. It's one of those players you hope comes in and transforms the field, but it rarely happens. And when it does happen, you're like, wow, that's the magic of the Obi. Lots of players getting minutes on the 2 team that even played as subs in the first team game. I found that a little bit surprising. We had Murphy, Cruz, Alec Can coming back in for his first game off injury. There was a few others in there as well. Is that coaching strategy to have them stay fit? I was a little disappointed with the result with that many of our first team players, though.
The fact that we can put those guys out and they can regain their fitness is valuable. I think they have that new guy in from Uganda who apparently played well, the center back. It's nice to have it. I could care less about results right now. And that I know there's other people out there that we need to win the chip. No.
I don't care about results, but I do care a little bit about the string of awful results.
Jeff, how do we concede the goals?
I think they were like 2 chip shots over a con, but these were. I don't think they. From what I understood from Pat, these were not his fault, which tells me that it's got to be a fault somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
I look at these games and I'm like, these are meant to be developmental games. You take a look at how Philadelphia Union 2 did back in the USL. They were horrendous down the stretch. Same thing with Toronto. They were bad. So this is basically feeling out and getting players minutes to see who can improve and who has been improving. It's not as much the result as it is the effort.
All right. Well, I guess I'm the only one concerned, but I am slightly concerned. Mainly because of how many first team players are in that game.
I'm concerned by Marshall sticking around as the coach there.
Yeah, I honestly do wonder. And unfortunately, I had an interview with the guy before the season started. I like him, but I agree with you. I'm not. It's not even a Pat Noonan guy, so I do kind of wonder about the fit there.
Hmm.
Tough. Sometimes at CST we got to make the tough calls, Brian.
Very tough.
Yeah.
Hey, shoot, what's the guy's name coaching our U19s right now? Eric Lehigh, former premier
Oh, yeah,
championship player.
It's a weird way of spelling his name, like Lichij.
Yep.
Yeah. Weren't
Maybe
we
he's
actually
the thing.
looking to get him on our team?
I think we would have taken him a year ago.
Yeah.
Hey, Alex Yursky is around tonight. How you doing, Alex?
It's been a while. Glad to see old Alex in CST live show again. That's probably it, though, for our hour. Let's head into your final thoughts. We'll start with you, Jeff. I kind of wonder if you're going to go somewhere. So,
A little bit. I mean, you know me, I have sort of my eyes on a lot of different things going on. The women are starting to do their qualifications, the women's national team. They have a game against Haiti, away game against Jamaica, and then a home game against Mexico. But to connect that in, they just recently announced there was going to be a Women's Cup schedule down in Louisville in August.
Nice.
And it's going to have Tottenham's going to bring their women's team, Club America, Tokyo Verdy, AC Milan. And then from here, you're going to have Racing Louisville and the OL Reign. So you're going to see probably Rose Louvel.
nice.
Sounds like a really nice week-to-week schedule they've got put together. Might be a nice thing to go see a hot weekend in August.
Thought you were going to brag about your FCC 3 race again. You know, that's the one thing runners always have in common. They have to tell you all about their marathons.
Thanks for the reminder there. There we go. I wasn't going to say anything, but you brought it up.
Sure. I heard that clinking. You had that thing ready to go. Oh, Brian, let's lay your final thoughts on us.
I guess shout out to one of our youngsters, Kimi Ordonez, absolutely tearing it up during the U20 CONCACAF Championship.
Mhm.
I think they're into the quarterfinals now. Quarterfinals.
I think they're playing Mexico next.
They are. So they play on the 29th versus Mexico. They beat Canada in penalties. So yeah, I hope they can continue. I think if they get to the semis, then the winner of that goes to the Olympics. So they're doing real well, and he's a big part of it. So good job to Kimi, and hopefully we see more of them play like that up here.
I was worried about him getting a fair shake, and I think he's taken advantage of his time in the international scene. Jason, final thoughts?
Big shout out to Sacramento Republic making it to the semifinals of the U.S. Open Cup. First team to do it since the one and only FC Cincinnati. And also a little bit extra kind of spice on that because of all the drama with their MLS hopes and all of that. So good luck to them, hoping that the Victory Quail will be going all the way through to the final.
Yeah, I think they're actually hosting Sporting Kansas City for their semifinal game. Let's hope they do better than we did in our semifinal game.
We did great during the game. Went up a bunch of goals. We just got Brandon Phillips. Oh, Bradley Wright Phillips. My bad.
I was just saying, what?
Brandon Phillips came in, right? And
ground rule double. The ground rule double.
Always use the
Duke
acronym.
Ball.
I will pile on your Sacramento thing though with my final thoughts because I'm cautiously optimistic for him. In a way, I don't want him to see them break we're the last team to make the semis thing. If they go any further, then they take our glory away in a weird way. But that's the past, so I probably shouldn't worry too much about any of that. Good luck to Sacramento as you go on in the Open Cup. I think I'm going to have to watch that game. Imagine just because of the MLS drama, if we had a capable ESPN or Fox or whoever's broadcasting these games that would grab onto this tournament and turn it into something that TV viewers can watch. The story is amazing. You could sell this to a bunch of geese on a lake. That's how good this storyline is, but they won't. And it will just be a cool storyline for soccer fans, which is unfortunate because I think you have all you'd have to do is put together like a 1 minute pre-match or even commercial, building up how big of a deal this is that Sacramento's playing MLS and Open Cup. So just my rant of the end of the show rant. Should that be a new segment? Hopefully not for everybody listening. Thank you for tuning in to Cincinnati Soccer Talk. We appreciate you. And we will be back here next week. Stay tuned. We have a March to Match Day this week that Jeff Tebbets will be running. So I'm looking forward to that. Coach's show comes out tomorrow alongside this one, I believe, or the next day. He's got Justin Hoyt back in action. So we're looking forward to hearing him, as well as the usual Nate analysts on the website and many more things to come. Thanks for listening.